Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militayena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Apitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavacha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parita Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lita Sri Vishaka Vitamcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Mostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees, joining us today on this medico-spiritual topic, cancers of consciousness. So when we think of cancer, we think cancer affecting the human body. Right? It's cancer of the body, cancer of the mind, cancer of the soul. Three levels of cancer. As the body, we are all very familiar with. We may have seen people around us going through our parents, relatives, lung, prostate, liver. Every organ can get cancer. There's no organ in the body which doesn't get cancerous. Cancer of the mind means schizophrenia. The type of cancer of the mind, right? Starts insidiously, very much incurable. It's a very dreaded disease of the mind. Cancer of the conscious of the mind is schizophrenia. But as spiritualists, we are going to talk about how even our souls can get affected by certain infections, which can turn into a cancerous damage, which affects deep inside our very existence, our core, our souls. So, basic understanding of cancer is that it is a disease which has abnormal cells, right? And the power to destroy. Why is cancer dangerous? Why are we not bothered about malarias and pneumonias and infections? Because they don't really destroy the body to that extent. But cancer can destroy. It can make a hefty man of, with big muscles, everything turn into in 6 months to like a skeleton, right? The power to destroy and consume the body from within is very, very much. Similarly, you talk of cancers of the soul, of the consciousness, and that means these are something which you should be so careful about, because if undetected, like cancer is disease which, why do we go for checkups regularly? Because if there's a small tumor, small polyp, some sort of bad spot, something which is bad growth, looks suspicious, you take a biopsy, take it out, and deal with that, right? But if you miss out on that, it will probably grow and come to different proportions, right? Therefore, uh, you want to be very, very careful to always be mindful that uh, the cancer which affects our consciousness could be very insidious, and therefore you want to remain vigilant about it. If you don't do that, it cancer can kill ultimately. So some there are some such dreaded sections of our consciousness which can actually kill the creeper of the Bhaktilata beach itself, right? And therefore, we want to be on the guard. Bhaktivedanta Maharaj used to always say that devotees should be like spiritual warriors. A warrior, one of the very special thing about a warrior that he is very, very vigilant. He's never like relaxed or casual, right? He's always vigilant about where the enemy is attacking from, right? So our vigilance of our inner ecosystem, hmm, is very crucial on the path of bhakti. What's happening within me? What type of traits my mind is entertaining, right? What are my attitudes my mind is really harboring on, anchoring upon, right? So, and periodic checkups of an internal nature. So, this discussion, the next 1 hour or so, will basically help us to go for a more, introspection. Hmm. And then, if you find that there are some things, you can forget right in the beginning itself, right?
In today's society, when we go to market, suppose you go to a shop and you see the price tags, you see a Rolex watch, and the cost how much? $200. And you see a set of socks, and if you see $25,000, how would you feel about it? Somebody has mixed up the tags, right? That maybe this tag was supposed to be for that, and that tag was supposed to be for this. Even in today's society, this is what has happened, that the value systems which are there, they have got so mixed up that we do not understand what we need to really focus on and what we don't need to focus on. So we have become such external people. Everything is on externals. We judge people by externals. We focus more on externals, but we forget to, uh, even give any thought to the internal things. And ultimately, what does it matter? Like if you take example of a tea bag, if you put in hot water, what comes out is whatever flavor is there in the tea. If it's a cinnamon flavored tea, and if it is lemongrass, you'll get lemongrass tea because what is inside comes outside, especially when it is in hot water. Hot water means what? Especially in trying situation, what is really inside only comes out. Hmm? As one story had come that suppose I'm sitting and somebody spills tea on me, and I say, "Oh, you spilled tea," because it's like, that's what I had in my cup. That's what it came out. If I had juice, juice would come out, right? So the same way, what is there inside is going to come out during trying situation. And how many of us go through trying situations? How many times in our life? It just came all of a sudden. When you get the pink slip, do you know, okay, oh, pink slip is going to come? And shock. So what is inside is going to come outside. So that is why we have to be so vigilant when we are talking of regular checkup. We all do body checkups regularly. Unless we don't take out time like this to check our own selves and do introspection, this cancer grows because it remains undetected. Most of the time, it remains undetected. As we go through the talk, we'll realize that how subtle it is. We don't even realize it. And isn't that how cancer is? Suddenly, some symptom comes and you show the doctor and say, "Oh, it's third stage. It's fourth stage." If it is first stage or second stage, it is still curable. You can do something about it. But by that, before you realize it is already. And why cancer is so dangerous? Because of the pain and suffering it causes. Is cancer that, oh, I have cancer, it's not like cough and cold. That, is so much of pain, there is so much of suffering. If not treated properly, there is relapse. And many times, cancer cannot be treated by one medicine. It requires a multi-pronged approach. You have to, take lot of help from lot of different ways in order to be able to tackle that. So we just thought that if we could just many times we go through situations, but by talking it out, we become little more aware of what are the cancers of consciousness. So we are going to cover three C's.
So these three C's are comparable to the journey which Hanumanji Maharaj took on his way to find Mother Sita, right? It is very historically relevant that he jumped from the mountain. Then it wasn't a smooth ride across the skyways as a son of Vayu, and he reached Lanka and everything was fine. The path. Typically, there were three different situations he went through, which reveal us what happened to us in our search for Mother Sita. Our search for Mother Sita means we are all looking for bhakti and within our own hearts. And typically, like Hanumanji Maharaj went through difficulties, something similar and uh, analogically, we may have to go through, right? Yeah.
Take the first C.
The C for how do we do that? Hmm? That's the only thing we do. So complaining uh, sounds like something which is very innocuous, very harmless. Something you just do it casually, and as one of you said, that something which you keep on doing almost all the time. Hmm? And that's what cancer is all about. We take it very lightly. Take it very lightly. White spot in the mouth, and you just apply some cream and be all right. But somebody is very smart said, okay, this could be a precancerous white spot in the mouth. Right? And similarly, cancer is like that. Now, complaining means expressing dissatisfaction or annoyance, resentment, or grumbling about things and situations that don't match our expectations and aspirations. Right? That means these are events which we go through in our life almost on a daily basis. The traffic jam, you can see that on the slide, right? Traffic jam. That is something we go through every day, right? By all the more, in America, I've not seen so much traffic jam, but right on the way we're coming to America, we had such a bad traffic jam. So it's something which happens regularly. Now, what would happen if we just keep a very complaining attitude, right? What would happen if we do that? This one is. What's
Yes.
this? Oh yeah, this is weather chart, weather forecast. Now it's very cold. Suppose how much you go to in this place? How much minimum? Hmm?
20 Fahrenheit minus 5
-5, -10, right? So can we change that? We cannot change that, right? But suppose you keep on getting annoyed about it. Oh, this weather is terrible, and I'm just suffering. You just keep on saying that. You keep thinking about that and again. Hmm? It's a non-changeable factor. The traffic jam is a non-changeable factor, right? When tagged to a negative emotion, it's called as a complaint, right? It's something which happens to us all the time, but we just perceive it in a negative way, and therefore we complain. So what happens is,
So many times it's a conversation starter, right? When you meet somebody, you start, hey, what a horrible something happened, Oh, did you hear about that? Huh? What about this? Such a traffic jam, or this was bad, or the weather is like this. So it's just like forwarding a message without even thinking about it. You do that? Some message comes to you, you read it, you just forward it. It happens to you? Many times it happens. And somebody will ask you a question, oh, but this is given that, but also, oh, I didn't even read it. Subconsciously, I just forwarded it. Right? So often a complaint is like that. You may not have experienced it yourself, but if somebody is saying it and somebody else is saying it in a herd mentality, everybody starts saying the same thing, oh, this is bad, that is bad. So you what do you become? A chronic complainer. You noted that? There are some people who exude positivity, and what does a complaining person exude? Negativity. People don't like to really be with such people. If I'm always complaining, say, okay, there she comes again, she's going to start. Some the principal is complaining, the subject might be anything. But know that this is how it's going to be. Complain about the food, complain about the neighbor, complain about the institute, complain about the job situation, the profession, anything. Why? Because I have become a chronic complainer. What do I do? I only ruminate on the problem and focus on the setbacks. How does that help? Because the situation doesn't change. By my complaining about something, as we said, can I change the weather situation? Can I control the traffic? What happens by doing that, right? So, what does it result in? It fosters negativity and it's contagious. If you talk something positive, everybody becomes positive around you. Huh? Yeah, how nice it is. Oh yeah, how nice it is. Oh really, it's nice. You see that everybody becomes positive. But when you talk negative, everybody also becomes negative. So you are the disease carrier, right? We say in COVID, anybody would even sneeze, you would move away, right? You are so scared, something will happen because that is an external manifestation. Somebody sneezing, but this complaining thing is such a thing that you don't even realize it, but you just catch on to it. It's like an unconscious fire that you do. And what happens to us by complaining? You get into the victim mode, as if I'm the victim. I am victimized mindset again. That oh poor me, I am suffering. This is happening. That is so you get into the victimized mindset and it becomes habit forming. Have you noted that? The more you complain, the more you feel like complaining. The less you complain, the less you feel like complaining. So we don't want to form those type of habits because some people will always remain what? Unhappy. They will never appear happy to you because they just need some reason to say why this happened and why this did not happen, and so you always remain unhappy. And actually, as a result of all this, you lose the opportunity to develop any positive virtue only in your life. Even though the opportunities are there, you just miss out on that because of the mindset I have got into. So what is the remedy for doing this? In my heart, I have to have grateful acceptance. When you things, right? Examples, the example of Parikshit, easily spoken than done, but he accepted a positive way. What did he do? He converted that opportunity. He converted that opportunity into a positive thing. If it is like one devotee was sharing that when it's winter, it's good we get at least time for ourselves to uh, internalize or think or read more, because we can't go out so much, right? That's a positive way of thinking. But a complainer, oh, we can't do anything and it's just so cold and it's so boring. And but this devotee, if a person wants to, he can make it into a positive opportunity, right? So that's what Parikshit Maharaj did. The Pandavas, how many opportunities are there in their life to complain? Why the Bhagavatam gives extreme examples. I mean, even if we would go through one of the situations which the Pandavas went through, we would be able to survive. But great souls, Krishna can only use these people because they know that they can go through it. But it's very easy for us to say, oh, they were Pandavas. They are not Pandavas. No? A mind can cheat us that way also. But no, the examples are given for us to understand that this is the way it should be done and I should be aiming towards that. How far on the spectrum I'm able to go, that is my choice. But at least I should be taking those examples and going forward. There's an example of Devki. Devki and Vasudeva were imprisoned by Kamsa. What? Eight children, I mean, seven children,
Six children.
six children killed. One, whatever happened, we all know. What opportunity was not there for Devki to? And not only did they accept it, they forgave Kamsa when he asked for forgiveness. To remain like this only. If I have to stay in this particular city, this is how the climate is. Better I change my attitude or I change the city. Only two choices I have, right? If I stay in the city and keep cribbing about the climate, then there is no end to the negativity that could be there. So we must understand this, that happy people, they complain much less, because you are experiencing so much internal happiness that these small things, usually complain is not about anything huge. Sometimes there is a cause, but usually they are over such silly, stupid things. Oh, this is so dirty, and people are so this, and such long queues are there. Like stupid things we complain about, right? So if we become little more happier inside, these things will affect us less, and that's how we might be able to control the complaining thing. So we may not be complaining; we are just giving a. There are three concepts: complain, feedback, and ventilation. Events. This is for how, if somebody is telling you something, how to take it yourself. That is somebody complaining. Complaining is a negative mood to express dissatisfaction. Feedback is what? You are conveying, maybe you are conveying the same thing, but it is in a more positive view to improve things. If you are in that position and you have to tell something is going wrong in the temple, I could be complaining about him, about that situation, or I could be giving a feedback. So it's not what you tell, it's how you tell that matters. So we try to give the feedback in a positive way. And sometimes people are just speaking about it to ventilate. It's a neutral, neither they are complaining, neither they are giving a feedback, but they just have a need to ventilate. At that time, if we are on the receiving end, we are talking of receiving end, we don't have to take it very seriously. We just give a good ear to them, because that's all they need at that time.
Somebody starts complaining, we have a choice. How do we deal with a complaining person who comes to us with some negativity? Can we minimize it? We can say, yeah, the reinforcing part. Yeah, I remember. Even I also saw it, and then he will add some masala to it. He will also add his own a few complaints from his side, and then A plus B becomes more tasty, right? So then he adds, because that fellow has come with some sort of, see, negativity always attracts negativity. Positive attracts a positivity. That's the way our mind is always, sort of programmed to be like that, right? So I can reinforce that with my own set of problems also. Say, yeah, I remember. Yeah, you're right. So then that goes on, like that, right? So we add to it, and you want to listen to it, because somehow complainers, if you're talking to a person who is also of that set type, then they becomes very juicy to learn, to listen, very juicy, right? So we want to give it a submissive or reception, which you're supposed to give to the topics of Krishna, or negative juice in people who are just complaining, right? Because the heart is empty, your heart is not very happy, and there has to be, you take on to some substitute which is toxic, right? It's a toxic substitute you take, thinking that that will probably be, what my mind can be satisfied with, right? And the worst you can do is to, if people are talking, is to say, tell this BS, right? So when devotees meet, what do we do? We need to have a culture in our temples where, if somebody is a chronic complainer, or somebody who has this mood of complaining about temples, institutes, this, that, the rumors, all sorts of things happening, and uh, that really draws you down, that drags you down, right? And it's not very positive. We don't come to for that. We come to uplift our consciousness, to become more inspired, to become more enthused, to become more, you know, connect with the reality of Krishna consciousness. So talk about kathas and kirtans and programs and services like that, right? So we need to, so that be, what are we going to do? So that mind your own, Abdul Kalam, right? So he said 6 things to do when for someone to be happy. Right? One is this mind around this attitude. Right. Second is what is that?
Focus on the
Focus on good things of life. Complain less. Less argument. Surround yourself with positive and inspiring people, and smile more. Right. Complain less. Yeah. So, uh, therefore, we need to process and not give into these sort of negative discussions. Yeah.
either we could divert the topic if somebody is really feeling it, and we also can't do anything about it, they also can't do anything about it. So that MYOB principle, and we divert it that okay, let's can we talk about something else, because there's nothing much that can be done, nothing will come out of it, so we divert the both of us together, we divert the topic, right? So that was one C which we spoke about
So, in
complaint.
general, before we go to the next C, in general, when that complaint becomes a nature of person, he stops absorbing all positive things of life. That is the problem. It sort of, in a cancer, it spreads, right? It starts on small thing and it spreads. So when it engulfs your consciousness, if there's some wonderful things happening around you, right? You're not able to really catch it. You're not able to absorb it. Your mind is still like that fly mentality, looking for something which is going wrong. And all the great things are going on around you, make you sorry. So that spreads inside the consciousness. And therefore, when you start complaining, you need to nip the bud and let it go. Yes.
So I sometimes wonder to what extent are some of these characteristics genetic or part of our personality, part of our personality such that this is just the nature that we have, and
Nature.
that's something we can so easily change, right? And you see that some of our,
Sorry.
no matter how much they try to change, they cannot
Once you detect it, see the principle of Jaisa Sang Vaisa Rang. People who are actually there are a lot of people who are very positive minded and exude a lot of happiness and positivity. And you're with them always, you feel very happy, right? So, what we call Prabhupada Vaishnava Sangha is a place where you don't complain about anything, but you really talk about more positive things, right? So, that's something which is within your hand to do. You may not be able to, it's not in this. So, one thing is, it is, I have not heard that it coming from the genetic, from your father, from your grandfather. I don't think they were chronic complainers. So, I don't think it's like that. But, yes, it could be, again, Sangha, na? If Sangha is like that,
That is what association.
the Sangha. So we want to come to temples and satsang programs and Devsha programs, etc. Because we want to be surrounded with people who are happy, non-complaining, and basically sharing good things of life, right? And that sort of subdues my tendency to point faults, right? And because there's so much positive in the environment. There's what will you complain of? This nice prasadam, so you can't complain, right? The lecture was great. Somebody came, some nice Vaishnava came, and the Bhakti leader came, or and he gave a nice talk. Something he prepared and gave a nice talk. There was nice kirtan. Some children came together, and somebody with the harmonium and our children, Arjun and all playing nice mridang, etc. Right? So children doing kirtan, nice prasadam, good discussion takes place. Anything to complain? No. So the more we engage in so much activity, the less there is a chance where we remain sort of upbeat with positivity.
We can find reason in that also, no doubt about that.
Program
But
started late. Okay, you're supposed to start the program at 6 o'clock, but it's starting at 6:30. So complain.
or the prasad was nice, but I wish they had made more aloo.
Yeah,
So
and it's
So
cold. It's cold. Prasad was great, but it was so cold. I didn't like it at all.
so we have to take a call ourselves that whether I want to be part of the problem or I want to be part of the solution. Once I told my spiritual master, but Maharaj, that's my nature. So Maharaj said, how long will you give that excuse? So don't you think you need to change? Change takes an effort. So we need to make an effort. Obviously we understand that we have that nature through somebody else who has put up a mirror in front of us, or within only we don't feel happiness, satisfaction. So we know that, and that's what we are discussing, that we have to try to focus that okay, this is my problem, this is the cancer I've got, so I have to take steps. I should not add more fuel to the fire. Whenever that urge of complaining comes, I try to try to control it.
orbit.
So at least I may not be successful every time, but if I'm trying, if I don't try every 5 times I try to do, all 5 times I will complain. But if I at least try, then maybe twice I will be able to control, 3 times I may not succeed. The more I try, maybe then 4 times I'll succeed, once I will not succeed. So it's a process. It's all this is easy to
It's
say.
a urge. See, complaining is a part of Vacho Vegam, right? It comes from that urge, right? That you feel like just ventilating negativity. So it's the first thing which Bhagavatam wanted us to do in his, the Samrita, right? So it's a Vacho Vegam. Because it is a Vegam, it is going to be a type of a negative force which sort of is compelling and forceful from within to just do that, right? But because it is a Vegam, unless we control it, we can't really absorb. Krishna consciousness is the most positive, the most beautiful activity the soul ever participate in. And yet, we can be so unfortunate if we give into this particular anartha of complaining, we can be bereft, we can be living, you'll be in the ocean, but completely dry.
So we'll take the second C because we have we the time. Second C is comparing. Right? All of us can identify with that. What is comparing? Measuring ourselves against others. There are an orange and an apple. What's the comparison? What's the comparison? They're both fruits, but orange is orange and apple. What? There's no point of comparing. This has its own plus points. That has its own plus points. So that's why there are books written like that. Men are from Mars and women of Venus. Accept it. They are made different. We can't compare both of them in any way, right? So sometimes the results come out and your son gets 90% and you're really happy. My son got 90% till you come to know that the neighbor's son got 91. Do you have that experience? Right? You're happy he got 90. You're very happy. As soon as we compare, then you become unhappy. So what did his marks change? Marks didn't change. But because you compared, you became unhappy, right? What are the things we compare in children's education, in food, right? They make this type of prasad in that temple, and look at our temple, what they give. Only khichdi they are giving. I'm not talking about our temple here, but I'm just saying in the mind that look at that person's wife, what all she does, and look at you, you don't have any time to cook for whatever. You could just compare. You could compare homes. And just see how he has, 5 bedroom place he has got, and you're making me stay only in 3 bedrooms.
In a studio.
In a studio or in a 3 bedroom thing. Compare for income, compare for clothes, all these things. These are the common things which we'll end up comparing for, right? And it's not only common with us, even in our shastras, people have always been comparing. If you take the example, even great souls like Indra and Prithu Maharaj, the story. The whole issue happened because Indra was comparing with Prithu Maharaj. He did many yagyas, so I have to do so many yagyas. Ashwamedha yagya, and then that whole you give it up and then you start again, give it up because that comparison just went on unconditionally. I mean, uninterruptedly. Kunti and Gandhari. Kunti gave birth to 5 children. Gandhari wanted so much so that she kicked her abdomen to get the sons out, right? So, what set of comparison that you even are ready to harm yourself? There is that story that this one person had a benediction. There were two friends staying in the same village, and they got some. I forget the exact story. That whatever I want my desire to be fulfilled. He asked for that benediction from a genie, and he said, "Okay, that will be done. The only thing is, whatever you ask for, your friend will get double." Right? So, what did he do? He asked that I have a house, and when he opened his eyes, he had a beautiful house. And then he saw his neighbor had a double house, and he was seething. Then after some, he said, "I want a pot of gold coins," and he got the pot of gold coins. Like imagine, what you wish you get. And he saw that his friend had 2 pots of gold coin. And this was getting like for everything he was asking, it was getting unbearable. So that comparison became so strong, that it even went to the destructive level. That what did he ask? That let one of my eyes go blind, so that his friend became blind from both the eyes. So he didn't mind losing one eye himself, just so that he could compare that I am little better. Right? You always want to feel better. Duryodhan and the Pandavas, the whole Mahabharata was for comparison. Duryodhan, what had? But what Pandavas had, he always wanted that. Even when he banished them and the whatever, unethically, the decided Indraprastha. Now, if you have this, I want. So sometimes, people on reverse psychology, siblings do that. You want the blue shirt, then I know that if I ask for the blue, my brother will also ask for the blue. So I will say, no, no, I want the yellow one. So then he thinks that brother will say, okay, I also want yellow and I'll get the blue which I wanted. Reverse psychology, people act on that, because that is a tendency. And this can be extended wherever you want. My guru, your guru. It's not material platform, spiritual platform, everywhere. We'll end up comparing. Now, gurus even concerned amongst themselves, they are loving people. We could fight tooth and nail. Wherever there are multi-guru concepts, you could just fight till endlessly. My guru wants this and your guru, the guru doesn't want. It's your ego which wants those things, Just keep it aside, right? So, as we were saying, that the art of being happy is to be, what is the solution for that? Satisfaction. Such a beautiful word, but very difficult word. To be satisfied with what you have. Hmm? And if you are, what is the result of dissatisfaction? You become insecure, there is competition, there is depression. Literally, when you compare, all these three things happen to you, people go into clinical depressions because of insecurity. What has happened? I mean, because of the comparison. People start competing like anything, I'll do this and you'll do that and I'll do this. It just goes on and on and on. And it's all because of insecurity. You just start feeling more and more insecure when you compare that. People will realize that he's better than me. People, so all the time I'm just trying to, compare. And what are the effects of doing this comparison? Effects on family, especially. Today, we see when you're not happy with what you have, marriage, there are extramarital affairs. Isn't that true? Because you feel somebody else is better for me. That's when you leave your partner and divorce them and you go into extramarital affair. So much of social evil on every level. We are just going fast forwarding. But so much of social evil, spiritual communities get destroyed because of comparison. How much problems could come? Families are broken, communities are broken, uh, name it, hearts are broken. Everything gets broken up simply by that we found, One who is not satisfied with the small things in life will never be satisfied with biggest things because satisfaction is a state of consciousness. Who said this? You remember Bali Maharaj pastime, right? When Vaman Dev came and he asked for 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj said, 3 steps here. I am the king of the whole. Ask for something worthy of me. Asking for 3 steps and insulting me, That's when Vaman Dev said this. That I'm satisfied with this. Because if I'm not satisfied with, I may not be satisfied with anything what I get. So the satisfaction is such an important principle to have, right? To be satisfied with your own income, with your own what you are destined to. That people keep comparing for this also. My mother is earning more, I'm earning less. This happened to them, this happened to my friend, and it could just go on. So what do we need to ruminate on? Number one, we have to learn how to be Atmaram, not dependent on others' opinions for happiness. Our happiness doesn't depend on other people's uh, viewpoints about us. What people think about us today, as they say, no, सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे लोग? The biggest disease is what others think of me. Who damn is bothered? They come to run your life? Nothing, right? So if we try to be satisfied with what we have got, and don't bother and base our happiness dependent on what others are saying, then that will help us to remain satisfied in what we have got in our life. Number two, we should be okay with our limitations. We are not perfect. Sometimes we curse ourselves also, right? We become too strict with ourselves that why can't I also be like this? But I have my own limitations. I can't do that. So if I am just going to compare, if the mother of a whale tells the baby whale that so stupid you are, look at that eagle, how it is flying. But it is an eagle. And I'm a whale, I have to be in water and he has to be in the sky. Is there any? That's my limitation. I have got that limitation. So we have to try to accept our limitations and to be okay with it. If we are not satisfied with our limitations, that leads to dissatisfaction. Why am I like this? Why can't I do this? Why can't I? But it's okay. This is what I am. Hmm? Like sometimes you accept people, you see so whatever you are, it's okay. So be happy with yourself also. Then that will not breed and lead to a comparison. And also look just a little up. Don't look too up. Like somebody's climbing a ladder and you always compare with the person who's on the top of the ladder, then you'll always be satisfied. But there are always people who are on the just the next step of you, just the next step of you, right? You do that, then it is not overwhelming. Otherwise, this feeling would overwhelm us, and as we said, depression, insecurity, all those things could come about, right? And whom, if you want to at all compare with whom? Your own self. We
And
have
those who
to
are below you.
below and your own record. Try to break your own record. If I did a service in a particular way, the next time I should do a better service. If I want to compare only, okay, chalo, use that tendency in Krishna's service. So I compete with my own self. Like sometimes we do that. We make a drama and we feel this is now what can we. But next year we should compete with our own seva. That next year's drama should be better than this year's drama, right? So that is what we have to train our minds to be at. And also the most difficult thing, the most difficult what? Celebrating others' success. That is the second thing. First, tolerate others' success. Uh, they give seminars on celebrating others' success. Don't. That's okay if you can do that. You are Mahatma, Paramatma ni Mahatma, really great soul. But at least just tolerate others' success. That will be a great achievement at our level, whatever we are. Right? Yeah. First step. So we understand that this is how we ruminate on comparison. And in one sense, comparison is good or bad. It's how you see it.
Yes.
Right?
So Prabhupada, of course, taught us. See, Prabhupada had this trick and wisdom to convert these negative traits which he knew are in us inherently, but to twist it around and make it, put it to advantage, right? So, Prabhupada, in Los Angeles, distributed 7,000 Bhagavad Gita, and they say in France, distributed 8,000, right? So, he will write, "I'm very grateful to you" in his letters that just to inform you that so I would encourage you to take inspiration from Bhavananda Prabhu and his team. What he would say something that is doing so much, right? So Prabhu would actually make different temples. Peter's letters are very wonderful. I would practically put two temples and three temples to such a fierce competition. And what is that? They're not like, I wish all of them die in Sankirtan. They're not like that. They say, oh, they did 7,000, they go to 10,000 next time. Why? Because they need a Prabhupada would say. And he would also say that I will come to your temple if you can, distribute 10,000 Gitas, I will come to a temple. So they would compete to get Prabhupada's association to their temples, right? But turned it around in such a beautiful way, right, to advantage. So therefore, there is something called good comparison, there is also something called as bad comparison, right? So when people who are, so when somebody is doing better than us, there could be two responses. I can either become envious or get inspired. There are two responses can be there. If I get envious, oh, I wish like that. So that envy is going to much drag me down, right? There are people always doing better than you, money than you, more beautiful than you, doing better services than you, more getting better classes than you, then getting mercy of the Guru Dev than you. There's people just around us who are doing better than us, right? There'll always be people who are little less, and there will always be people who are You cannot be at the top. There will always people who are above you, right? In everything, financially, economically, blah blah blah, whatever. If you have this, somebody else has a better car than you. It's going to be there. So what will be my response as a Vaishnava? If I am a non-Vaishnava mode of consciousness, I become envious. Why not me? Why not me? Right? And if I have a Vaishnava consciousness, that comparison, if it is there, let it be there, no problem. But I can get inspired. Oh, this Prabhu is chanting on Nirjala Ekadashi does 162 rounds. And I'm struggling because of lack of with my 16 rounds. And I feel like I'm still doing a great thing. But look at that devotee. They're sitting together, 20 of them sitting in the room, and whole day they will not get up without water. It's 160 rounds on that day. My goodness, how wonderful they are, right? So I can always turn around a comparison mode into a more positive thing, right? And that's what Krishna consciousness is all about. The traits are there, but we crystallize those traits to advantage. You can always flip it around and make it to advantage, right? Prabhu.
Typically what I've found in my own experience and also dealing with people's jealousies or envies, we become jealous not in matters where we don't really ascribe any value or where we know that we're not. Say, for example, someone wins a swimming competition and wins a gold medal. I'm not a swimmer.
I don't
Great,
care.
I celebrate your success, right? But someone gives a better class than me, and that's what I want to do, right? That's when the jealousy strikes, right? So typically, jealousy and envy strike when it's something that you really want and you even feel that you deserve. Like I'm this much better prepared, or I'm so much whatever
More
better
qualified.
speaker, better qualified. I've been in the movement for X number of years. That person been half the time, but you get twice the opportunities, right? That's when those evil comparisons begin and they start to destroy our conscience.
I took Diksha 5 years back, and I was not meant to a mentor. And he got Diksha 3 years back. He's my junior. In fact, I trained, and he became a mentor, right? They're very partial in the temple. They're very partial and for a head. So it can blow up from because I was not made the mentor or the leader or whatever. I was in that particular position. Therefore, I start looking at the whole manner as being biased. There's nothing on in this whole temple. There's favoritism, there's bias because it gives more money. That's why they how the mind can start blowing up things, right? So it can become like a cancer again. It starts with a small thing because I was not made a mentor before him, and then you start blowing it to the whole management. They always like that, and then you start seeing all these things in a negative way.
I've heard my spiritual master explain several times in classes as well as in situations where when you have feelings like that, to actually consider that Krishna is in the hearts of those who are making those decisions, and Krishna is also in charge of all the situations. So maybe that person's getting more opportunities than you. It's an arrangement by Krishna. So by being envious of that person, you're actually being envious of Krishna's arrangements. And so I think that can be a good wake up call or check for us.
Correct. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise you are thinking that Krishna is imperfect. He's not making the right type of choice. He doesn't see it and start becoming judgmental. Guru and Krishna also.
Remember when we were talking about Hanumanji, so when Hanumanji was flying, then there was a particular time in his flight where he was flying at that speed. It's a very big speed, great speed, right? And then suddenly he halted, right? And he was trying to push himself, and he could see that he's not able to go forward, right? And not only not going forward, he was stuck there. He was started going down. What had happened? There was a demons below called as Simhika, right? Or Surasa. Simhika. Simhika, right? So Simhika had mystic power from Brahma to hold on to somebody's shadow, right? And she got into the shadow, and then shadow Hanuman started coming down, and of course, then he had to deal with that. He had to kill this particular demon by entering into the heart and destroying it, right? And similarly, this particular C, which is criticism, right, is a very dangerous. It is our dark shadow, It is our dark side of our consciousness where we criticize. And of course, we are all aware. What is this?
We when we talk about somebody, na, you say this person is this, but
I made elephant offense.
but.
Yeah.
So whatever you have said till now, when the but comes, then you become everything you forget, na? Everything you spoken is forgotten, and then that whatever you speak after that but, that's the most important thing that you remember, right? So that's what it means, that it becomes like a delete button when you are criticizing, not only verbally but even in your mind. It becomes that this person is this, but he's like this. So when it's in the mind, it comes out externally also. And how many of us are perfect? We all know that
Only those on the altar, behind the curtain.
we all know that when we see people around us, we see some negative things in them. We can't forget that even they can see us also. Hmm? If I have 10 reasons to criticize, they must be having 20 reasons to criticize. But they are not doing it out of what? Love and respect. Right? So how do you look at people? There are two ways of looking at people. The Jagannath way and the Ranganath way. Hmm? What does Jagannath? How should you look at somebody? You should look at somebody's good points with Jagannath eyes, big eyes. As they say, multiply, try to see and multiply the good. And how should you see people's bad things? Like Ranganath. Close your eyes and try to avoid seeing it. Hmm? So people say, but it is true. That is there. How can I just close my eyes and do that? But more often than not, it doesn't concern you. It's just that because it is very juicy to talk about somebody's dark side, huh? That's why we'll end up talking about it. But it may not be that the Lord seeing them like that. So we always try to train our mind like that, right? That I may see all this, but maybe that person is really pleasing Guru and Krishna. So I have to see the way the Lord is trying to see, not the way I'm trying to see. So there are four types of fault finders. You know, as we are talking of criticism means fault finding. Hmm. So first type of fault finder is who? He sees the good and bad, but he emphasizes on the bad. You see both, okay, right? You see both the things, but you focus more on the bad because your mind wants to delete the good parts of it, right? Second is what? You see good and bad, but you emphasize on the
Good.
hmm? Third is what? You see a small bad and you magnify it. And fourth is you see a small good and magnify it. Right? So that's why how we have to become is like the second two where we put the tick. Good and bad, everybody is going to have. It is not going to be, anybody who doesn't have. Life is not about black and white. Outside Bhakti Center, there is this person who sells belts. What's his name?
James.
James. Hmm? And one time Radha Swami was going from there and he asked that which is the most selling belt? There are red belts, there are purple belts, black belts, white belts, grey belts, different colored belts, brown belts. He asked him which is the best selling belt, and he said grey. And Maharaj said, what did Maharaj say?
I began to think about it. Why is it that human mind selects gray? And then this man is selling belts for a long, long time. And his answer was very spontaneous and very, yeah, by far, the numbers are far more greater when it comes to gray. So Maharaj said that our mind usually doesn't accept white or black, right? We want things to be white and black, but oftentimes the heart feels harmony in a gray color, right? Because it is acceptable that there will be some white, there will be also some black, right? So everyone has this combination of white and black. Therefore, the heart is able to synchronize with that understanding that there will be always some white and black. Therefore, you buy a bed is more gray colored. So that's our personality also. We have the good and the bad. So, I was thinking of Srila Prabhupada, that how, see, for us, Prabhupada remains a natural example for everything in life, right? And something he was amongst us, a very contemporary person. And if we are going to accept this principle of Mahajana Gatasa Pantha, right? Now, who would see good in the type of people who came to in New York in the 1960s? Who would see good in them? Just before coming here, beginning of our trip to the US, we are at the Bowery, right? And now the Bowery looks very nice. Now look, Bowery has got nice shops and buildings and clean and all that. But it's a place which was stinking of stool, urine, and blood everywhere, and vomit here and there on the walls and on the roadside, the pedestrian walking. That was type of, I'm told, I don't know that how many of you saw it. We were all not there at that time, right? But we heard the story. Now, why would somebody want to go and stay there and stay people of that type? Because he saw some good in them, right? That they had a spark to understand the absolutes of life. They were seekers, frustrated with material life, and they were looking for some alternatives, right? They given up everything material. They given up the families, they given up their jobs, they given up their professions, and they were looking for something higher. But they felt alcohol and drugs would probably be the answer. But they didn't have anything. No one is better. So about saw the spark of that, they're looking for something higher and give them right and they caught it, right? So we can always see Prabhupada always did that. How would he have run a movement with so many people around if he had not had his attitude? Just pick up when he saw a small spark to find it, right?
So even suppose you'll end up criticizing, there are different motivations because of which you'll end up criticizing, right? Number one is we criticize others to show our superiority. Unless I don't criticize you, how will you think that I am better? If I don't criticize him in front of you, you will think he's better than me. I have to speak something critical to show my superiority. That is one reason. Second is we criticize to get back at somebody. And you did this to me. No, when husband and wife have some issue and they divorce, you should see in the court. They really get back. You feel they ever loved each other? Did they even stay together? They just become so critical because they just want to get back. Right? So criticizing that could be the reason. Third is we want to just assert ourselves. You want to talk bad about somebody because you want to prove that what I'm saying is right. Ego, but you want to prove assertively that this is the right way to do. I think this design of the temple is perfect. So, the previous architect, he's just a junior, he doesn't know much and all, I am no. So because I want to assert my design, I will try to criticize somebody, right? And the other one is what? I have some shortcomings with myself and I want to hide it. How do I hide it? There's no way to have a shield, something. So if unless I talk bad about others, you will I'll be exposed. I'll be exposed. So I'm forced. My mind forces me to criticize other people and hide my own shortcomings. Right? So these are the four reasons psychologists say that why people, these are the four motivations which we could have when we criticize. So when we feel the urge to criticize, before we verbalize it, we could think that am I speaking this out of superiority complex? Am I doing it to, get back at the person? Am I doing it to hide my own shortcomings? Am I being assertive in what I want to do? That's why I'm doing that, right? So if we had to ruminate, there are certain points that first, first we want to think about yatha drishti tatha srishti. When Duryodhana and Yudhishthir both were told that, can you go in the whole of Hastinapur and find somebody who is better than you? So Duryodhana came back and said, there's nobody better than me. Because that's how he saw Srishti. His vision was that. And Yudhishthir came back and saying that everybody's better than me. Everybody's better than me. Right? Why was that? Because both compared, na, that was better than me. He thought everybody, I thought nobody. because of the vision that he had. When we are just, as they say in America, full of it, we will see everybody like that only. So try to see that. Second is that if you see something bad in somebody, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, hate the sin and not the sinner. Because we don't know because of what circumstances in their life they have become like that. What they might have gone through in their life. What is their situation behind the scene. What they are going through. So no point in hating the person because otherwise we'll end up hating everybody. Hmm? They told that in today's day and age, in the past there was only one Jagai Madai. But today, almost so many Jagai Madais are there. If we become judgmental, if Prabhupada would have become judgmental, movement wouldn't have grown only. Right? So we hate the sin, not the sinner. Third is that we have to think before we speak. Get all the facts right. Sometimes we get half information about somebody. And how many times we have misjudged people and then you feel so bad about it. Just recently we had that experience, both of us. And we just really badly misjudged somebody. And then we came to know, okay, oh, and we were just feeling so bad about it that we were so quick in our judgment. We should have taken, given benefit of doubt and just because poor thing that person was not at all like that. So we re-inspect, right? When you re-inspect the situation, that leads to what? Respect. When you respect somebody, you criticize them little lesser. When you don't respect somebody, you are much faster to criticize. When you respect somebody, if you feel something, you will try to withhold that it's okay because he's such a respectful person. Also, we have to be realistic. If you have unrealistic expectations out of others, then you will end up criticizing because everybody is not going to be like that, right? We have hi- high expectations. So they say कि have high expectations out of yourself and low expectations out of others to be happy. But usually we are the other way around. We have low expectations out of ourselves and high expectations from others, right? And sometimes you have to actually pray that our judgment is wrong. When you come to know something about bad about somebody, then we have to pray to Krishna that Krishna, please, I hope I'm wrong in my judgment. And if we are really just many times Krishna proves it that you were wrong. And third thing which we need to do is what? Improve our sadhana, right? You will see direct connection. And I realized that one time for we go to chanting to a nearby temple which we have a Girdhari temple daily. And there is all Goswamis on the wall and the Prabhupada deity is there. So it's very favorable chanting environment there. You don't carry your mobile and darshan will open, you know the deities are behind the curtain. You are just waiting. And reasonably you try that japa is better in the temple than at home, obviously. But one time for few days, for a week almost, I'm just trying to focus my mind on the holy name. Not even one mantra I'm able to. 16 rounds are over and I'm not able to chant only properly. And it went on for so many days and I thought, okay, what's wrong? And suddenly I said, okay, did I do something? Did I? And then I realized that, oh, in my mind I was critical about one particular devotee. Some close friend, because naturally many times we become critical with close people only, unfortunately, because you see them too closely. For far away people, everything, oh, you're such a wonderful person. Because you're in Timbuktu, I have no concern with you. It's always with close people you become judgmental and critical and all. So I realized that I'm doing that. And I said, what should I? Oh my God. It's thank God it has not still verbalized because I had verbalized to him. But I said that I have to correct myself because Krishna is not, he's punishing me like this. He's bringing it, thank God that he has not given up on me. He's bringing it to my notice that please, Haribol, stop it. Huh? Because you are critically thinking about somebody who is dear to me, in your vision, it's not right, but it's dear to me, and that's why I am taking away zero taste in the holy name. Not that obviously we don't have taste in any case, but absolutely I couldn't focus whole 16 rounds going on for a week and nothing. And then what I did, I verbally went up and I appreciated the person on the face. And suddenly next day my japa was a little better and then it became a little better. And then I had to literally control because the fact was that there was a problem. It was not that I was saying it wrong. Somebody had wrong. It was wrong. But then I said, let me mind my own business. Why should I spoil my spiritual life in trying to be critical or judgmental about somebody, right? And I'm ruining my own spiritual life. I said, let it be. It's between him, Guru, Krishna. They will handle it. Let me and be protective towards my spiritual life at least. Because I was going down the drain completely. So, improving our sadhana and appreciation. So, every one time you want to give a feedback, let's say give 5 appreciations at least to somebody. If you even want to tell somebody before you convey to them, right?
Dinesh Prabhu had this very brilliant answer he gave regarding his attitude. Somebody asked him this very basic question: how do you, because he's a head pujari of the entire ISKCON temple, of ISKCON society. So how do you maintain high standards of deity worship? So they expected a very technical answer. We do this and we have seminars or training. And whatever he would have said, he said, answer was don't gossip. So, how the great souls think. So when you gossip, which Ramadas Goswami was told by Mahaprabhu as Gramya Katha. That Gramya Katha is so powerful that Gramya Katha actually destroys the consciousness. Right? And because it destroys consciousness, whatever activity you are performing with deity worship standards or whatever it is, that becomes such a mundane activity. You can't really see the deity as the Lord Himself. You can't see Him as the Lord. You just see Him as an ordinary thing. So your standards of your approach to the deity itself becomes very, very watered down, right? So therefore, criticism basically starts off usually with this tendency for gossip, right? So critical. We often heard Radha Maharaj say that in old ISKCON days, things are a little different now, maybe. But in old ISKCON days, when they would have classes, then suppose somebody gave a class in the morning, then the whole day when they meet together during services, they would say, do you remember the point somebody said? Do you know the analogy which he gave? That was a fantastic analogy. Do you remember the sloka which he quoted? If, was it? In Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam? So they always would land up, when they meet, land up discussing what they heard in the morning, right? So then that became the standard in ISKCON, that when devotees meet, they always talked about something which they had read or heard or learned. However, now, when we don't keep our standards too high, when we meet devotees, we may become caught up with the anartha of Gramya Katha, right? So that much matakataha prana, bodhansa parasaram kathansa mam nityam tushyanti ramatisha. So, right, when the soul actually participates, Krishna, when he is happy with somebody, blesses us with Vaishnava association. That is Krishna's blessing. That because I love you, I bless you, you will be now in the association of my dear devotees. Now, if that association is used, then used properly, we can abuse it by just doing what we've done with as a karmi. You gossip, right? Like we were in the plane.
Oh my God.
With the plane coming to, where were we coming?
I
With
don't remember.
we were flying this trip itself, and we were in the second last, two ladies sitting behind, and it was a 3 hour flight, and
Non-stop.
and we had to do a finish our japa because we were flying in the morning. So we had just left early morning, and we wanted to see that it was 3 hours. We finish our 2 hours of japa, and maybe eat something or get up with our sleep. And these two ladies, believe it or not, for the entire 3 hours, right? They were just non-stop talking and talking and talking.
Gossiping.
And they're just talking, gossiping endlessly, right? And you're wondering, what is this? This complete Brahmikatha, because we are not trying to eavesdrop and understand what I have to say.
They were talking so loud.
They are talking loudly. Yeah. But I was just remembering Prabhupada, and the one who was in front of me on the right side, I was watching him, and the old couple was there, maybe in the 60s, and the both of them were just doing crosswords for the entire 3 hours. So one was wasting his time. One couple, one, two, these were wasting time in gossiping, and somebody in front was wasting time in just doing crosswords, right? That how wasteful is the human form of life like that, right? So, and the valuable time we have together with Vaishnavas could be used so fruitfully in things which will enlighten us, right? So never gossip, because gossip usually it degenerates, and then you see that it ends with some critical type of things coming up. So we it's like a cancer. It's like a cancer. It starts off in a casual conversation, then it degenerates into gossip, and then it goes into criticism. You don't even realize that actually start talking ill about Krishna's devotees.
As as Janani was told, don't be a gossip enthusiast. And where does this take place? Our people as a club or a community, right? We are a community of Vaishnavas. So if we do the same things which happen in clubs, then what's the difference between us and the clubs, right? We want to build Vaishnav communities. So we have to be really, really beware of this type of danger of this cancer, right? We just wanted to conclude that when we are talking of these three C's, when we come to Krishna consciousness, what are we doing? We are soaring high because our philosophy is so wonderful. Right? Philosophy is so high that it can't be matched by any other religion. Hmm? And we are talking of high concepts and higher levels of purification. That means we almost come like eagles. We are soaring high. And sometimes the eagle is even able to fly over the storm. Storm is on a low level, they are above the storm also. However, you could give the example of eagle in two ways. Here we are using the example not to have a eagle mindset. Because what does the eagle do? Even if he's flying so high, when he spots a dead carcass, he will come shooting down from right up and down and eat even that dead carcass. From that high level, he will stoop so low, right? So these three C's which we spoke about, comparing, complaining, criticizing, huh? They are like these dead carcasses down. If we are going to try to be devotees and we are struggling to go higher in our devotional life, we don't want to remain at the same level, we don't even want to stoop down. But if we remain high there and our mind remains fixed on these three C's down here, then there's very little progress that we could make. We'll keep coming down, going up, coming down, going up. So we just have to beware.
That means our lower, what we're seeing from this last slide is we still have to be aware about our lower nature. We have come here on path of bhakti to harness and to enhance our higher nature, right? However, if we just keep our bhakti more external oriented, where we perform the acts of bhakti like chanting or reading, deity worship, but do not really actually change our inner heart, do not really take a lot of transformation. We keep on doing the external acts, thinking that I'm a devotee, and the Maya also tells you that you are a devotee. You are chanting, you come to temple, you're taking prasad, offering the food you're eating, you're doing everything externally properly, but internally, she does not allow you to see that you are still, your mindset, your attitude is that which you were always having even before becoming a devotee. So to match up the external acts with internal consciousness, when you match these two things together, right, that means we are in and out the same. What we profess to be, we actually are within. Right? That means we are not putting a picture, we are not just cheating ourselves by saying I'm a devotee, but we actually deeply take stock or take inventory of our inner consciousness, detect the problems which are there and which may be there, critical nature, etc., and work on these things, right? So that we can actually do toxic things like wearing criticism and complaining. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna.
We discussed about the cancer. So can you tell us what are food we should consume, not for cancer?
The food of Hari Katha, food of Hari Kirtan, and Vaishnava Sangha. These superfoods are powerful. If I keep ourselves in that Sangha of more and more we have Hari Katha, Hari Kirtan, and Sanga. That powerful food, we keep on nourishing ourselves with that, we will gradually lose. Hi, Ivo. So these foods we talked about, they have got antioxidant properties. So whatever toxic material is in our consciousness, that will be eliminated by antioxidants. That's formula of Lord Chaitanya, right? These three things: Harikatha, Harikirtan, and Vaishnav Sangha. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. In workforce, how to apply
Workforce.
in workforce, at work,
Mm.
how to apply the concept of criticism that you state so nicely. It is maybe, I think it's possible to implement that in any company, like outside also. In workforce,
As we said, criticism, it could be if you're saying something about your boss or about your colleagues, about your management, right? If it is simply ventilation, it is fine. But generally speaking, our mind is not is not mind the way it is not discriminatory. If I'm critical about something in office, my mind is not going to differentiate when it comes to devotees also, and it is critical. So our mind is not trained to usually say, okay, I should stop here. I can criticize my boss, but I should not criticize Vaishnavas. If I'm critical, I'm critical. That becomes my nature or my sort of a habit. Therefore, if I use that nature in any place, there's a danger that I may also start using that thing in the with Vaishnavas, right? So we want to be careful about wherever we are. We don't want to really, you know, be more compartmentalized and say, okay, there's workplace or somewhere else. But yes, discussing something with somebody else, there's a problem in the office, you're discussing with your colleague or with some fellow person. That's not criticism. This means you are really trying to, sort of, come down heavily upon somebody else and degrade that person, when ridicule that person. So that very negative attitude towards somebody else, that attitude is very harmful. It's an attitude we are going to do. If the attitude is there, it will come out everywhere. You won't be able to be um, very choosy about it. So that's a danger. So we need to when we root out from it, wherever we see it, root it out.
so, so Prabhuji, you mentioned about comparing criticism and complaining, right? So many a times it feels that it is so much a part of our inherent
Nature.
nature itself that it is such a mighty challenge to like curb these three things.
Right.
So you suggested that the food of Harikatha and Sangha and everything. So if we employ ourselves deeply into these practices, does it influences our inherent nature to that extent that we don't have to put extra efforts towards or dedicated efforts towards fixing these things, or additional efforts would still be required?
No, see, when we detect a problem, right, I find that my belly is bulging. Okay, then you will specifically do exercises to get your belly more flattened out. Is it not? You will do some abs and you will do some crunches, you will do something, or do some weights or some yoga exercises, this exercise, dhanurasana, whatever. You will do something. You find that that particular aspect of my body is not doing well. I'm losing my tone of my muscles, right? So when we detect a problem, right, then actually the shakti created by sadhana, just doing a sadhana, right, we're chanting, then the sadhana shakti can be converted into a prayer, my dear Lord, I seem to have this problem. So we direct the power of sadhana shakti to a particular dimension which is weak, but I have this nature where I complain, right? This is I become very critical. Can you please kindly help me? So when the prayer means grace, the kripa part, and my sadhana means the prayas part, right? So when I put the prayas and then I pray for the kripa, when both together, as a my dear Lord, I have this problem, right? When you put that So we want to specifically identify also. So these are general solutions. Harikatha, Harikirtan is like complex. Anyone can take it, right? But you may have specifically a deficiency in your bone. You need some little extra calcium. You need to be complex also, but you need some extra calcium. So then, oh, I have it on my bone also, right? So we want to detect these things. The purpose of these things is to first create a sense of awareness that they are so much, as you said rightly, and that's what we're also talking about. They're so rampant in the way we think in this world that we hardly even take notice of it. That's why we said cancer is like it's all about in society. How many people suffer from cancer? Thousands. In America, they say in India soon, one third people will die of cancer. One third. That means there are 50 people sitting in the room, right? And 15 of us were going to die of cancer. That's how common it is. That's how toxic this thing is. It's so common because we really have lived in the material world for so many millions of lifetimes. We just come the way we are now, right? So we need to really make a complete overhauling of the entire system of the way we think, behave, and speak, right? And there's no better way than Krishna consciousness, right? But the first, as I said, is detect the problem. If I don't know there is a tumor on a sonography, if I think everything is fine, everything is good. But do a checkup, sonography is done, there's a lump, there's a small lump, in the liver, okay, there seems to be a problem. Do the needful, correct? Similarly, if you don't do that regular internal checkups, right? Therefore, we keep stressing what devotees, yes, we must serve, we must go to temple, we must do tulsi, we must do worship. But when you are in a solitude, then also do internal inspection, also do introspection. We need to understand where are my weaknesses, which is my weak part. Oh, abdomen is I'm getting flabby here. This is my flab now. I need to work on this flab. So we need to understand where we're going weak, right? So this discussion hopefully will help us to understand this is my weakness, and I've been neglecting it for so many lifetimes. Now let me pray and do my sadhana so that I can eliminate, weed out. These are considered as weeds of the Bhaktilata beach. Rupa Goswami talks about this in Rupa Siksha, Mahaprabhu teaches them that this is something to weed out because they can choke up. Nutrition is coming to the Bhagavad beach, but the nutrition can move towards the weeds, and these weeds can become more and more strong. Uh, and we get a position in the temple, and we may have some rights, or some other people may become critical, become very critical about things, right? Because we have the power and position. Imagine we're destroying them. In one sense, you're going up because you're doing a good sadhana and doing a lot of nice performance. But if you also, not taking up the weeds, then the power and position may actually make me more critical on people. You are nonsense. You're not thinking about. No.
The whole thing we are talking about is how to get Sita back. Sita is bhakti, right? She represents bhakti. And these things come as obstacles in our journey. We are all on a journey. We are on a journey back to Godhead, right? So these things, they are common things. Sometimes we overlook them also. Who talks even about these things? It's not like something like a big come in the anarthas like calm, krodh, lobh, moh. It's not categorized. These are like some habits which really become an obstacle in our life. So we want to get Sita. If you're okay with not getting Sita, then fine, we could get stuck up with this and take millions of lifetimes to go back to Godhead. But if we are in a hurry to go back to Godhead, then we have to try to make conscious efforts to try to these small baby steps to take how to get purified first. So yeah, the last question.
Yeah. So thank you for the class. So on the topic of positivity, um, so we understand from Prabhupada's books that this world is a place of suffering and it's pralaya and ashtatam, and it's, we have to, unless we are fed up in this material world, we won't have that desire to go back to Godhead. So how do we balance that, like being realistic with being positive
Otherwise, we might just be blindly positive about everything and not be
Correct.
realistic about things.
Perfect. I think it's very nice. Therefore, the example given is Bhakti Sansari Thakur gives this example of the marriage party. Remember the story of marriage party? That they are on this side of the shore and the marriage on the other side of the shore. And the bridegroom has to go to the bride side, right? So they are rowing, they sit in the boat, the boatman starts rowing, and then he says, okay, all of you relax, but tomorrow morning you will reach the other side. You'll be tired from preparing for the marriage. Just go to sleep. And he will just start snoring, goes to sleep. And they see that this fellow started rowing. So okay, he's rowing. So reach tomorrow morning. Right? And they come in the morning, he's still rowing, he's rowing, but they're in the same place. In the same place, what happened? He's sweating and perspiring in the same place. Right? So then he realized, oh, he didn't plug out the anchor. The anchor was still there. The boat is anchored to the shore. The boat is kept to the shore because there's anchor there, right? So he was going here and there. Similarly, in a bhakti process, also two things to do. We need drawing on the positive side and also unplugging and removing the anchors which we have to this material world. So what we said is the right thing. We need to have balanced understanding of the awareness of the cycle of birth and death and suffering involved therewith. On the same side, you have glories of the spiritual world. How Krishna is waiting for us, Radharani is waiting for us, or the glories of Chintamani Dham, Golok Vrindavan Dham. But you only talk about these things and not about this thing, then you become very sentimental devotees. So that's here. And that, right? And you hear all about the negativity of this world, suffering, these, that, very pessimistic. Very pessimistic. We see in Prabhupada's presentation style, when you read his books and his talks, right, that he definitely brought to awareness the horrors of material world, but at the same time he counterbalanced always with the possibility that you have a positive alternative here. Krishna consciousness is here. Right? He's pushing the material world, material side. So Prabhupada's presentation was absolutely correct. So we need to be conscious of both these things. Right? With one look at problems, material world, and the other way look towards the spiritual world. You want to give both the things, something going on. Right?
And Prabhuji had a last question.
There is a criticism is human, and for that there is a dua in Hindi. Nindaka nere rakhe angana pugita. That we cannot neglect the criticism. They improve our performance. That's all. Don't run away from people who are criticizing. Keep them close by you, so that you will improve yourself. May not be, as Madam said, not the highest student. You just compare yourself and try to climb. That is how the this is as you said, gray. Gray is a mixture of black and white. Less of black and more of white. So even the person also who is helping us mixture and combination to come out.
Thank you.
Black is a gray is a black is less of black and more of white is gray. Less of black and more of white is gray. That means we are taking more of good quality, less of bad quality. That's how we improve our standard.
Thank you. Hare
Okay. Good point, Hare Krishna. Okay, should we end here? Hare Krishna.
So let's thank Dwarkadish Prabhu and Vishaka Mataji for a wonderful presentation, very down to earth, very, very practical. So for myself, I have to go to Bhaktivedanta Hospital and check in for some chemotherapy because I have severe cancer in one of these areas. But it was very wonderful and nice. Thank you so much again for coming and thank you all for coming on Monday evening to Tuesday. And so nice that you all came out Monday evening and just participated in this session. So thank you all so much.